Every Thursday we post a college pick'em. Tennessee, Florida was one of the 5 games this week. You'll see 24-17, but you can check out that article on 24-17 Tennessee. You can check out that article, though, to see my picks in the other 4 games that we had for this weekend. But I'm looking at Tennessee 24, Florida 17 Saturday in Gainesville.
Tennessee, Florida, 3:30 Eastern time on CBS on Saturday. 2 very flawed teams, 2 teams that don't look like SEC contenders. But in the Eastern Division this season, it could prove pivotal down the stretch. The winner of this one getting an edge in that division and possibly joining Georgia near the top. So as we look at week 3, it's a bit thin. So this is actually a marquee matchup for college football in week 3. As we look at the first 2 weeks, Mike, anything that stands out to you, anything that's caught your eye?
I think the SEC East looks a little bit stronger at the bottom half than what I thought. The East is usually a bifurcated division. You usually have the top 3, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, in some order. I think Georgia is clearly the best team in the East right now. Tennessee, Florida, 2 and 3. We'll find out Saturday who the 2 and who the 3 is. But if you look at those bottom 4, the 4 teams are usually at the bottom. Of course, for a few years, South Carolina was kind of percolating up. But if you look at South Carolina, Kentucky, Missouri, Vanderbilt, they've all looked good at some point early in the season. South Carolina had a great win against North Carolina State, and then went on the road and beat Missouri. Missouri looked great week 1. That offense can if that offense gets on fire and gets in rhythm with Demaria Crockett and Drew Lock back there, they can. There's a lot of teams they can beat in the country with that offense. Kentucky looked good against Southern Miss, a game they didn't look good in last season. So we'll see if Kentucky's for real as they go down to Columbia this week. And Vanderbilt, we're going to learn about Vanderbilt this week too. They look good against Middle Tennessee State. They look good in their opener as well. That defense is real. And they get a test with a top 25 Kansas State coming to Nashville this week. So we'll know a lot more about the bottom half of the East this weekend, but they look strong coming out early. Surprised about Mississippi State. They look much better than anticipated. And again, the story of the past couple of years in the West, a little bit disappointed with Texas A&M. Ton of talent there. Resources, program is there, and they just continue. I think we can erase Clemsoning, and we're gonna have to figure out how we make Texas A&M a verb to kind of replace Clemsoning. I think that's what's happening there in College Station. So that's kind of the early season expectations from the SEC. A little bit strong in the bottom half of the East, and a couple of surprises over there in the West. People talk about conference rankings all the time. I think what makes the SEC the best conference overall is not the top teams or the middle teams, but it's that the bottom third and the bottom quarter. And when you see teams like Kentucky, Missouri, South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt, when you see them as strong as they are this year, that's kind of what makes the entirety of the SEC, the conference, the whole conference, the strongest conference out there. The ACC looks great. A lot of good teams at the top, but they got a couple teams at the bottom who just aren't competitive caliber. Same thing with the Big Ten, probably the strongest at the top, Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin, Michigan. But at the bottom, you have Purdue and Rutgers and some other teams that just can't compete at that level. Big Ten, you got Kansas and Iowa State there. Big 12, you got Kansas and Iowa State there. And then the Pac, you got a couple teams down at the bottom. So I think that strength of the SEC shows when you look at teams like Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, Kentucky, South Carolina having strong starts to the season. So that's really what's caught my eye so far early this season in the SEC. Still a lot of games to be played, though.